can tell I don't have much better to do because we're sitting in ER waiting. So
We're not in the ER anymore.
we're in the hospital.
But
It's all the same.
I was
Whatever.
actually moved to a room. Yay!
It's all the
I'll
same.
be here for a while.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about something else.
Besides being stuck in the hospital?
Yeah. It's when people are just getting into Christianity, or I guess the Lord. I don't know exactly how to frame that, but when they go, well, I'm interested, or whatever, they show interest. And this is like a two-part video. So the first one is then they'll go to church and find out. Someone posted this, it made me think of it. So credit to whoever posted it. I forgot who it was. My point is I would highly recommend being very cautious going to church for two separate reasons. The first one being, remember, the church still is comprised of people. And people are liars, they're fake, they're frauds, they're phonies. Even when we're trying, we're all those things because we're sinners. We're not perfect. So we try, and I've found that, the churches that I've been to, most of the people definitely seem like they're trying harder than your average person. But you are still going to run into, the things that you see, the bad behaviors from people in church. And what I would suggest is that you don't dump that on God. What I'm saying is don't say, well, I'm not going to have anything to do with that. I don't believe blah, blah, blah. Don't take out the actions of humans and the behaviors of humans. Don't take that out on God. Remember, he gave us free will. People make their decisions and they act the way they act, independent of God's direction and approval or approval. So, don't get put off by a relationship with the Lord because of people at church. I have to be honest, I recommend most people don't go to church unless you can find one that meets. We'll start out with these criteria. Do they preach that as Christians, we don't have to follow God's Torah anymore or law? That's an immediate run. Do they preach that you don't need works? That's an immediate run. Do they celebrate Christmas, Easter, Halloween? All pagan stuff. When they talk about, now remember, the same people, they'll talk about how we don't have to do the law anymore, but then they'll talk about the 10 Commandments while they have church on a Sunday. And when one of the commandments says to keep the Sabbath, which is a Saturday. So it's really like the point is they'll pick and choose. They'll be like the Pharisees. They'll prioritize man's law and dogma over God's law. You don't want to be in a church that does that. It would be much better for you to just read the Bible for yourself and ask the Spirit for discernment. And if you really need help, there's people online you can go to that I found. Bear Independent, YouTube channel, Bear Independent. He has a lot of prepper information, but if you go to the playlists, he has Old Testament, New Testament, and he does an excellent job at just reading the Bible and and telling you what you need to know. And then kind of riding off of that, I was talking to my wife, and I remember doing this when I was much younger, and she admitted she still does it, and I'm sure most people do it too. They inadvertently do it. It's natural. Like something bad will happen, or you'll have a shitty stretch of life, and you immediately talk shit to God. You're like, what the fuck, God, blah, 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 this and that. I would pose to you that you consider it from a different point of view. Unless your situation is like a Job situation where, the Lord is betting Satan $1 that he can't wreck your life and you won't curse, unless it's something like that. The Lord wants good for you. I mean, he's a parent, right? So he wants the best for you. That doesn't mean he's not going to discipline you or make you go through hard stuff, because that's what a good parent does. A good parent does not give their kids everything they want all the time and never discipline them and all that. A good parent that's not at all. So why you'd expect that out of our Father, if you think about it, doesn't make sense. But when you're having a hard stretch or you're not getting what you want out of life, or something bad happens in an instant, like, an accident, when you're like, what the fuck? It's not the Lord. It's the devil. Instead go, yeah, F you, devil, for doing this to me. It's the devil. Everybody wants to talk smack to the Lord. Talk smack to the devil. He's the one, First you look in the mirror and go, what decisions or actions or inactions did I do to create this bad spot in my life? And 99% of the time, yes, it is our own actions and decisions or inactions that create the shit in our life. That's just a fact. I know people don't want to hear that, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But one of the best things you can do for yourself in this life is to accept reality and take accountability. Extreme ownership, in fact. Jocko Willink wrote a good book, Extreme Ownership, and I can sum it up for you pretty quickly. Everything is your fault. If you go through life, not now, remember, don't consider yourself a piece of shit or a terrible person or whatever when you do this. Just know that, everything is your fault. But what that is for is to empower you. It's not, see, the media and all the bad people use it to try to turn you into a victim. And that's not good because it takes all the power away from you. You want to make it all your fault with extreme ownership to empower you. You say, well, we didn't reach a deadline at work, and, you had the team at work, and Bob's just not pulling his weight. You want to blame Bob, but the bottom line is you were the project leader. So, your management's going to look at you, and you can't be like, well, Bob did it. You look weak if you do that. It wasn't my fault. I was just the manager. My underling did it. You need to help Bob, motivate him, find a way. And once you try everything you can, if he still isn't performing, then you replace him. That's your ownership of it. Like when you are at home and you find that there's something set up in your house to where, I don't know, maybe the kids or your husband or wife keeps spilling something, or there's something in particular that just keeps getting messed up. Instead of blaming them and blah, 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 you take ownership and go, well, how can I change this to make it so that it just doesn't happen? Stuff like that. So don't be so quick to go, what the fuck, God? And something bad happens. You go, what the fuck, devil? And then go, but I'm going to pray to the Lord, and say, please help me through this and help me take responsibility and just try that. It sucks at first because no one wants to admit that they messed up or they got something wrong. But the faster you can get over that, the faster that you can accept responsibility without any baggage, meaning, like I said, don't attach your self-worth to it. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets things wrong. Doesn't mean you're worthless or a piece of shit or whatever. It just means you got it wrong. So you're going to want to figure out what you did wrong so you don't make the same mistake and then move forward. That's it. I was telling my wife that there's a couple different levels of accountability, in my opinion. There's the not accepting it at all, and then there's the level of accountability where you're like, well, yeah, it was my fault, and then you just kind of, you mean it. You know it was your fault, but then you just kind of move on, and that's okay. But where you really want to be is you want to be to the level of accountability where you can, when someone brings to your attention you made a mistake, you go, yes, that was totally me. What exactly did I do and how can I avoid it? So when you don't worry about, taking social damage, and when you take accountability, that is really when you're going to be at full power. Like you're just going to be open and making big strides in your life for improving yourself. Not only that, don't worry about the social damage of, admitting in public or in front of other people that you made a mistake, because anybody who's of value, who's going to be in a position to help you out in life or whatever, maybe give you a job or your boss, they're going to recognize real quick the difference between not taking ownership or just taking it, but, trying to run away, or taking it and being very proactive to making sure you don't make that same mistake again. Trust me, the people who count will notice that. So don't worry about people like, oh, you suck. Those people you just don't even listen to, because they are so far back of self-recognition and where they need to be, on that journey, that there's no point in listening to the peanut gallery. So yeah, I know ADHD videos, this is all over the place, but hopefully you can kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, and hopefully you can apply it to your day-to-day life, and it will help you. And that's my main goal. Is I want anybody who sees this to have a better life, and I promise you, the Lord, reading the Bible and following the Torah, and taking full responsibility for everything in your life, taking full and total responsibility, and not being afraid of social damage. When you're in front of a group of people and you don't want to get embarrassed, or you forget about all that, because like I said, the people who count will respect you. So